music going to be as they come to the checkered flag? What a race this has been.
For longtime friends, Tyson Bzdell and Matt Szalai, taking in the action at the Ice Oval racetrack was just a great way to pass the time in Bzdell, Manitoba. But then, they got an idea.
To be honest, we were sitting up in corner 4, sitting in a truck, having a few beers. We said, why don't we do this? This is in our backyard. I know Matt had some motocross experience, so he's raced before. And me and him were best friends, and I think we went on eBay within the next 24 hours and purchased 2 sleds down south and made a road trip out of it.
Those impulse buys didn't pan out as well as they had hoped.
Not good, because they were both kind of green guys that had built them. And I remember sitting, I guess it would have been turn 2, just coming out of staging in Bzdell, coming here to practice one weekend in mid-January. And we're just looking down the straightaway, and it was more of a, what did we get ourselves into?
Matt and Tyson considered themselves lucky to have access to one of the best courses right in their backyard. So even with their lack of knowledge, they had to give it a shot.
There's a lot of racers in the area, and figured, why don't we do it together? And I just kind of went from there and figured, why not? Gave it a whirl. It worked out really well for him. He went on and got the championship that year. My sled that I purchased didn't quite pan out as well, but it didn't discourage me.
I won 7 out of 8 races that weekend. It was only the first race I lost. I got the whole shot, came into turn 1, ducked behind the windshield. Everybody disappeared. I was kind of panicked, let off the throttle. They all drove around me. And I was like, oh, because I'd never raced against anyone. I just practiced by myself. And then I just got more aggressive, and I was like, well, I can do this. And yeah, so I ended up winning both championships that first year, and then I was hooked.
They created the name Demon Racing, and away they went. Both admit it was a big learning curve, but with their interests peaked, they spent the next few years learning everything they needed to succeed, from every source imaginable.
We were both the blind leading the blind. We were asking every question of every other racer that was either coming out testing that day in the pits. First sled me and him built together was based off internet pictures.
This was going back, 7, 8 years ago. There wasn't a lot of community out there for this. So yeah, we found a couple online, kind of tried zooming in. I think this was pre-smartphones yet. Zooming in on pictures, and kind of got a big whiteboard in the shop, put all our pictures up, and I was like, all right, this is what we got to build.
That's pretty rich.
We're both very mechanically inclined with our nature of work and everything else, so we prefer to build our own stuff or wrench on our own stuff. That way we at least know what we're getting into.
Being friends and teammates is a big part of why they keep working at it.
We run 4 snowmobiles out of this trailer, 2 340s and 2 440s. It gets stressful, but at the same time, being able to race with someone, I'm sure he'll agree, just makes it way more fun. Tyson got out of it for a couple of years, pre this Formula 500 that we built. He raced the first year and then didn't race the second year. And as I was saying, I did it alone, and I really enjoyed it, but now win or lose, it, we're having a good time. We are the after party.
A party that may not have happened if Matt hadn't convinced Tyson to come back to racing after introducing him to sleds that were professionally and specifically built for ice oval racing. Matt knew that once Tyson saw the difference, he would be back in. Over the years, they have built up their skills and formed a mutual respect for what each of them brings to the table.
He's better under pressure. I'm much more laid back. And I'll go with the flow. If it's not quite working, I'll be okay with it, where he thrives to get that little extra inch and that. So, and he helps push me along and keep me motivated.
If I got to get beat, I mean, that's the sled I want to beat, right? We don't want to be somebody else. We always want to be 1 and 2. And we've been very successful together. Usually, like I say, 1 and 2. I mean, if you're losing to a teammate, that's not really a loss, right? You win as a team. That's what I always say. It's not a me win, it's a team win.
Matt admits that one of Tyson's strong points is that he's an aggressive driver, but still needs the odd advice here and there.
He always blows the last corner when he's leading. He's done it twice now, and I keep poking him in the ribs for it. He had me beat last year in 440. He got the whole shot on me, and I chased him for every lap. And I guess I got into his head that he knew I was right behind him, and he just overdrove the last corner. And I'm like, "What'd you do that for? You had me beat, you know?" And again, it's experience. You know, I've been doing it a little bit longer, and that's happened to me. We're not gonna tell him that. He'll know now, but I've lost races because of that.
The guys bust each other's chops, but Tyson admires the advice and the motivation he gets from Matt. Tyson has seen those admired traits in himself. They even have pushed him to do things he would have backed away from. Tyson and Matt are two friends who decided to get into the world of ice oval racing. They both brought ideal traits to the team. Now, let's see how Matt's perseverance pushed Tyson to travel to the U.S. to compete alone.
Great example was the last 2 races I raced in the CMPR series without Matt. He wasn't able to sit in a vehicle, and I was discouraged to go on my own. I was debating. It's a lot of traveling. I believe there was 32 hours we had to spend in a vehicle for the 2 weekends. I debated not going and ended up winning the series. So glad I went and was able to get myself to go.
Matt wasn't with his teammate for the trip because, while racing in Strathcona, Minnesota, Matt was hit from behind while in a corner. He broke 4 bones in his back and will have a permanent impairment. Luckily, he didn't lose the ability to walk, but was unable to compete as a driver for the rest of the season. But even a serious injury didn't pull Matt out of his teammate's corner. Separated by that great distance and injury, the strength of the team didn't dwindle.
So me being out, I couldn't travel. I can't sit in a car that long. My back's pretty messed up. So for him going south, you know, it was just a bunch of phone calls. So I mean, I was still part of the team, answering text messages for what's it doing, let's try this. Hey, like, you got to bounce ideas off people. If you try and do it all on your own, you're gonna end up with the same results usually. I find, especially together, we don't hit any walls. It's like, well, I did this. Well, why didn't you do this? Yeah, that's a good question. You know, just take a different path. There's lots of that. So, I mean, we're working together, actually, with the whole team that we have. Lots of different ideas, and usually we always come up with a really good solution.
Yeah. That's that big strip flat one.
That sucks.
Being a part of those conversations and consultations are a big help to the team. But for Matt, it doesn't replace being in the race himself.
He had a great season this year. This is obviously going to be one of his best seasons. Mine too, less the broken back. But I mean, we did win 2 world championships, and it's biting my ass that I can't be out there racing with him this weekend.
Matt will still be busy for the rest of the season, because not only do they do their own racing, but they still do their own wrenching as well.
It adds a whole different level of stress to it, of course. Usually we will have 4 snowmobiles here. Me and Matt race in the same categories, so I want to make changes, he wants to make changes. We've got 45 minutes between our next heats, so it gets hectic. We've worked together enough years, so there'll be times where words aren't spoken. Everybody knows their position, what we got to do, and that's what we got to do and get done.
Trusting each other on the mechanical side is just as important as trusting each other on the racing side. Traveling around a track made of ice on a machine at a speed of nearly 100 miles per hour can be dangerous. Matt knows firsthand. Things can and do happen. But Tyson believes the racing community does what it can to keep everyone as safe as possible.
I race with the same guys every weekend, and for season after season, there's a lot of trust, a lot. And that you hope if somebody does fall off a sled, you can get out of the way in time. I've had to swerve around a guy sliding across the ice, and sometimes it's very tough to decipher whether that's a snowmobile or that's the actual rider. And I've had an incident here where I barely missed him and almost ended up going through the wall myself. But typically, like I say, we're all driven with each other, and if that's what it takes to avoid hitting the guy, then I'll wreck my sled if that's what it takes.
That admirable level of respect for fellow racers is shared throughout the racing community.
Some of the competitors I race with in my category, I can go borrow parts off them. They can come ask us for parts. I'd rather see the guy out there than not be out there.
Both of them try their best to uphold the positive atmosphere of the community, making sure they have the right attitude. But sometimes, some of the high-stress situations of the sport get the better of them.
Keep your head up high, smile on your face. Being social with everybody is obviously good on that. I mean, I've had some incidents where maybe weren't my best moments in the pits, or some issues I've had with the officials and stuff like that, where I've maybe bent the rules or not listened to the things I've known and that. And it's frowned upon, absolutely.
Do you learn from that?
Absolutely.
Knowing that even your competitors are looking out for you helps you succeed, but so does the support of friends and family.
My parents have been great support. I mean, I work for a family business, so there's the setback and the danger if I get hurt, so there's some negativity there sometimes, but ultimately, no, the support's there.
During certain times of the year, the sport can be all-consuming, and friends and family understand that level of commitment.
I've always been involved with it, whether I've been driving for somebody else or running one of Matt's sleds, but no, I've always been in for the last, I think, 11 years. The last 3 years has been pretty much a full-time job almost. I think we've been traveling the last 4 weekends in a row straight.
The support of friends, family, and community are key to the success of ice oval racing. Now, let's look at the mental and physical challenges of the sport. As a racer, keeping a level head is important because everything has to come together perfectly, even before you get to that starting line.
Not get discouraged. There's a lot of set downs, and I think there's a lot of set downs. I think I probably spent upwards of $4,000 or $5,000 in motors last winter. This year's been a lot better and different, and you can't just walk away. You just got to stick with it and find the cause and the roots and figure stuff out.
Tyson says it can be a mental game, even before the race begins.
Well, what am I doing here? There's sometimes if we come off the hole shot and there's 8 guys going in the corner, I would not be able to see from me to you. And I'm hoping for the best. I can hopefully see somebody and why am I here? And there's 8 other guys. If they're doing it, I guess I can do it too.
While racing, Tyson admits there are many questions running through his head at once, and no time for any of that doubt.
Everything's 100 miles an hour. I'm tunnel visioned in. And I forget some of the most important things I'm supposed to do because it's go time.
Racing is also very physically demanding. The average Joe can't just walk off the street and join in.
I'm no athlete, and most of these guys out here are athletes. It may only be 2.5 minutes for a race. I'm exhausted and sweating at the end of that 2.5 minutes. It's a workout. Hardest part is the driver on the sled. The sled, yeah, maybe it does what it's got to do, but the driver's taking all the beat. The arms and the upper body, you're going to the full lean in the corner, trying to get yourself forward to get your weight transfer, to get a good bite and get out of that corner and then try to get back onto the seat. Once again, upper body to get the aerodynamics so you're not sitting out on the side like a sail. So mostly everything's upper body, pushing with your legs, trying to get pushed over further. So it's a bit of a full body workout, mentally, physically, all around.
Both Tyson and Matt want to see the sport grow, but think it's important to be honest with the casual weekend warriors who think the sport looks easy.
A lot of people I know, coworkers, friends, you let me try driving it. I don't think you have the skill set. I've trail ridden with you. I mean, you're not crazy enough to get on one of these, I don't think.
Tyson knows from experience how different it can be.
I grew up around snowmobiles. I've always had snowmobiles. Mostly just trail rid or ditch bang in Manitoba. Then got into the racing, and then I've also gotten into mountain sledding. But every aspect of it, those different types of snowmobiles are completely different. I can't take something I've learned here and transfer it over to another one. It's everything's its own ballpark.
Once you overcome the mental and the physical, there are still other challenges.
Financial and time. I got a very busy work schedule, and obviously this costs a lot of money. So once you get the sponsors involved and everything, it turns into its own little mini business. And trying to manage, keep everybody happy, and get everything you got to get done before the next weekend.
The hard work pays off, not just with trophy and titles, but also with travel. Doing well opens up new possibilities and can even help one see the world.
The furthest would be Eagle River, towing the trailer. I think it's about 12 hours for us to get there. Yeah, that's the furthest we've been so far. We've talked about their winter's a little longer, maybe jumping over the pond and going over to Sweden and try to run there quickly, leave our sleds here. They've got sleds for us, and we know a few racers out there that come down to Eagle River as well.
Both of them have considered the thought of retiring, but they always find something to bring them back.
The race community, the people, I've considered maybe stepping back a little bit. The hardest part's going to be missing the people and the race family.
It wouldn't be the same without them. It's really the way we do things. Might get a little angry, but it's like a second of just angry at yourself for something that happened or something that broke. But as a team, no, it's always a party. Like, you know, if we wouldn't, why do it if you're not having fun? And I don't understand those people like, well, you know, I don't come all this way and spend all this money to get fourth, right? These guys come out to win. And for me, I say it's kind of like hunting. I'm like, well, it'd be a lot cheaper to go to the grocery store than to buy your meat. You got to do it because you enjoy it, right? So yeah, it costs us a lot of money, but it's a lot of fun.
So what does the future hold?
What's next? Last year I'd said this was kind of the end for me. This was supposed to be the end. I took a very bad ankle break in September 1st, and everybody told me I could not race this year. So this was scheduled as my retirement year. I don't think it's going to be. I say that now. We'll see how the summer pans out. Matt's already made the leap to a different class. I know a fellow competitor that I race with, he's made the leap as well. And I think we're going to go that direction. We're going to scale it back for sure. Not do the traveling down south. Maybe try to help promote Saskatchewan where they do a race there, and definitely do the Bossier stuff. I know there's just another U.S. race close for us in Strathcona, and just try to keep it simple like that.
No matter what happens, it's clear neither Matt nor Tyson regret the path they chose. And to those starting out, heed their advice.
Do your homework, and don't be discouraged. And that take patience, time, lots of testing, practicing, and you've got it in you. You've got it in you.